Hey y'all. Um, with this um celebration fast and this Thanksgiving fast with the Lord that started today, tonight I have just been kind of like reflecting on some things that, how far God has brought me throughout my life. And I don't know if I've ever shared like, where I've come from and um so when I was little, my real dad, or whatever, you want to call him, um, he was in my life until I was like 5 or 6 years old. Um, and he was like the devil himself. He was very mean, very angry, physically abusive, emotionally abusive. Um, he was an alcoholic, he did drugs, he was like everything in one person. Um, and he was with my mom for 12 years. Um, so he never physically abused me, however. But he did do a lot of hateful things. Like my mom was saving money up for me at one point in a bank account for me to have, when I got older. And he went in and stole all of the money to use on drugs and whatnot. He cheated on my mom a lot. He's very, very mean. And my mom kind of, when you're in a physical abusive relationship, and especially with somebody as mean as he was, you're kind of scared to leave because you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know if they're going to kill you. You don't know how to leave, right? But she prayed about it a lot. And she's like, just, God, do whatever you have to do to get us out of here. And the way that God did it was he allowed my dad to finally put his hands on me. He had beat me with a belt, with the metal piece of the belt, all the way up and down my back. Um, and I had bruises up and down my back. And at that point, my mom gained some sort of like bravery, I guess, from that. And, um, she was like, that's it. Like, you're not going to put your hands on her. You're not going to put your hands on me anymore. I'm not scared of you anymore. And we left. And at that point, God had officially delivered us out of that situation and got us away from him. And it was a whole ordeal. He was friends with a lot of cops and he got away with a lot of things until he didn't. Um, the devil always tells on him, demons always tell on themselves, right? Yeah. He got away with it till he didn't. He ended up going to prison for a while over some things that he got caught doing. He ended up losing an eye. It got stabbed out at work by a forklift or something. So, all those times that he punched my mom in the eye. Justice gets served eventually. It doesn't matter how long it takes. And to be quite honest, I have seen him once around in the area, but I have not had him in my life since all of that took place. But that was just one of the things. The enemy tried to take me out, right? He's been trying to take me out since day one. But I'm still here. That reminds me of like Snooki. Do y'all remember that season of Jersey Shore where Snooki and she was like trying to fight Sammy or something and she got up, she's like, I'm still pretty. I'm still pretty. Yeah. I'm still here. um and you know throughout my life, there's just been a lot of like people who were supposed to protect me, especially men when it came to men. I wasn't protected in the way that I was supposed to be and provided for in the ways that I was supposed to be, right? So throughout my life, I've always had this void and have been searching for um that, just to be loved, but in those ways that I was missing my whole life. I got into high school. I got pregnant at 16. I had my daughter. I got pregnant at 16. I had her at 16. Um, so I had her young. I lived with my grandparents for a long time. But like a majority of my life, I lived with my grandparents and my mom. We both lived back and forth. And my grandparents are a whole nother story. That is like narcissistic. I don't want to talk about nobody, but there is a lot of narcissism and chaos, and it would put anybody in a insane asylum, okay, living there, which pretty much broke me and my mom at a certain point. And in that house, when I was 16 and my daughter was not one yet, she was still a baby, there was just so much chaos. They wanted to control everything that I did with my daughter. They wanted things to go their way. It was just a lot. And I get it. I was young, so they thought that, whatever. But it was beyond that. It was not healthy. It was very toxic. And I just had prayed and prayed and prayed something could happen to get me out of there, and so yet again, another event took place, physical abuse, that ended up getting me out of the house. Now, why did this happen? Why did this seems like a pattern for me? But is something dramatic like that has to happen in order for me to get delivered? But you know what? I was never severely hurt. I was always protected. But again, it was just another man that was supposed to be protecting me, but didn't. And I got delivered out of that situation. And but then my kid's dad, that's who I moved out with. We moved out at 16, maybe 17, but yeah, I was probably 17 at this point. So I moved out at like 17. And living with him, I'm not even gonna, I don't want to talk about people, but it was very toxic itself. I just went from just so much emotional trauma and abuse my entire life and chaos. My brain never really rested. It was just always in that fight or flight mode. And so I had a lot of wounds, from narcissism, just toxic family. My health got real bad when I was living with my kid's dad. Everything was out of whack. I was really heavy. Like I had gained a lot of weight. I was having autoimmune disorders, and that happened. That went on for him and I were together for probably like 8 to 9, like close to 9 years, not quite, but a long time, right? And for a long time, I tried to get out of this. I wanted to get out of this relationship, but I didn't. The places that we lived in were places that my family paid for and helped, And so I didn't feel like I had to leave, but the thing is, he wouldn't leave. He refused to leave. He just stayed there, and things just stayed. But I pray, like, and I was raised in church. I knew of God, but I wasn't in. I was still in the world, drinking, smoking, just doing whatever. Like I didn't really, but I always knew God was there, and I knew I was spiritually gifted as well. I knew I was a dreamer. I didn't know why though. I didn't know I didn't know my purpose. I didn't know my identity in Christ at the time. I just knew that I had dreams, and I knew I was meant to help people somehow. I just didn't know how or what. And, so I sat every day in this house, the house that I'm in currently, right? Just praying that God would, just make him leave. Like this again, this house my family bought. And so I didn't feel obligated to leave this house. I felt like he was the one that should leave. And so I just sat here pretty much every day. I know there's steps I could have taken, like evictions or whatever. That process is extremely difficult. And to be honest with you, with the amount of mental and emotional stress that I was under, I couldn't even get the motivation to do it, even if no matter how bad I would have wanted to do it. I laid in bed almost every day, depressed, and I was coming to the end of myself. Like, I was in such I didn't want to be here anymore. I told God that if it's going to be like this for the rest of my life, I would rather not be here. I had a lot of bad thoughts at that time. Not just that, but some other thought. There was a lot going on mentally, and so I kind of just laid here. But even at the end of the day, I trusted. I'm like, I might not have known God, but I knew God enough to know that it was not in his character to leave me like this. There was no, in my mind, in my heart, there was no possible way that was God's plan over my life. No possible way. So I just waited and I trusted in him. I'm like, one day I'm not going to be here in this situation. And I even told him every day. He'd come home being mean to me, just all of this stuff. And I'm like, one day this won't happen. I'm like, God's plan over my life is not this, to be stuck in this situation. So if you think, because remember, he was refusing to leave. And I was like, if you think that this is God's plan over my life, to sit here like this every day for the rest of my life, you are sadly mistaken. And I did not know how God was going to do it, because again, he was so stubborn and would not leave. He ended up one day just packing his things out of the blue and just left. And that was the day that I was again delivered from that. This time it didn't take physical abuse, but man, the mental and emotional abuse. I have just, and this isn't a woe is me thing, but no, seriously, I'm just telling you where I've come from, like kind of a short summarized timeline of my life. It's just constantly I've been in a state of stress, right? And, but at that moment, right, God immediately, like from when he left, God started restoring things for me. I started losing weight. I lost weight so quickly when I got out of that relationship. My autoimmune disorder cleared up. Like before, I couldn't even get out of every day when I would wake up and get out of the bed, my legs, my joints, everything would be so stiff, and I would be in such pain and just so stiff, right? It would hurt to walk around. My health was just, and my health started getting restored. My weight, it was so peaceful for once in my life. I had I was trying to adjust to being a single mom at that point with having just me and the girls here. That was a struggle for sure. But for once in my life, it was peaceful. And then, having time to myself. I was terrified to even be alone, which is crazy. My entire life up until that point, I had never been alone. I was always with someone. Like, I had never stayed the night by myself. So the first time that they left, the girls left and they went to stay with him, it was like my first time ever. And now I enjoy the peace of being by myself. And so over those, I even got a new car. My grandfather, he went out and bought me a brand new car at that time. He went out and bought me a brand new bed that was not cheap. Brand new kitchen set. Things just started happening for me, looking up and being restored immediately after he left. I even had got a phone call from him shortly after that. He was like, I'm not doing good. Things aren't going good for me. And it wasn't even a surprise to me because it was like God was vindicating, he was doing what he does. You reap what you sow. Um, and so things have always just kind of, God's take, another thing, I have always lived comfortably. And I was even just asking God this a little bit ago, like, why have I always lived so comfortably? Although I've been through a lot, I have been blessed to have lived comfortably. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, even when I don't deserve it, and just I have gotten to do a lot of things in my life. I come from family who had money. And so I've just always lived comfortably, and people dislike it. People really are jealous of it, and I don't mean that in a prideful or boastful way. I'm just telling you, people really have a problem with it. Because people don't understand it. I don't even understand it. Like, why do I have certain things when certain things I haven't had to work for, I just obtain. I don't know why I have the favor that I do from God. Favor isn't fair at the end of the day either. I've heard that saying. But it really irks people's nerves. And it's not anything that I've asked for, but God has delivered me from a lot. He's restored, and in the time after my kid's dad left, for once in my life, I was able to start healing. God has, delivered me from strongholds, generational things, toxic behaviors, mindsets, addictions. Just, he's taught me self-worth, all the love and protection and all of the things that I have missed out on from the men in my life throughout my life, right? The men that were supposed to be there to love me certain ways, to protect me, to provide me with, all of those things, and they never did. God was able to give me all of that I have missed my entire life within these last few years and some more. you know um and he's just brought me a long way. And there are still things, um that I do need. Right now I don't have a job. God will not let me work. I have tried to apply at so many places. I have never ever ever had an issue, and I don't say this pridefully either, but seriously, I have never had an issue with finding a job. Because I'm a people person, I'm very bubbly, I'm very outgoing. I typically apply, like it's favor, right? I apply, I don't have to go through many interviews. I get a job. It's really never, even the last job that I had, I didn't even apply for it. She was just like, I'm going to offer you this job. You don't even have to do an interview. You don't have to fill out an application, nothing. You're just hired. It really, like, favor has always followed me. Even going back to, like, my kid's dad, when he left, he was fighting me through court. Well, we never actually made it to court, but, like, fighting me with the lawyers. We spent so much money in lawyer fees just for what I wanted to be favored in the end. And I don't mean that in like a prideful way. It's just, I can't explain it. Things just work out in my favor. I don't know why. And I was asking God a minute ago, like, why do you favor me so much? And, I don't know. I really don't have an answer for that. I do know that, like, when I was going through this battle with him, I was just trusting and believing in God and doing everything right, when he was being like, trying to be controlling and trying to be petty and trying to just do things that would, not work out in my favor on purpose, intentionally, just being that way. I would just, all right, God, I'm gonna do what's right. I'm gonna trust you and believe in that you're gonna work things out. And he just does. He just does. And, so, but there are some things, like I said, I cannot get a job to save my life. So right now, As far as that goes, I am taken care of. God has provided, but it's coming to a point where something's got to be, something's got to give financially, and I don't know where I don't know what's about to happen in my life as far as that goes. But what I do know is that God has spoken certain things over my life and over me, and those things are about to start happening. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm trusting and believing that things are, just like He's delivered me before, just like He has always provided and blessed me, and all of the things. I know that something is coming. I don't know what, but He is about to bless me with something, and I am receiving it. I am believing in it. And then even like with this house that I'm in, I was just looking back like over the years. My daughter is 6, and we moved in when she was a baby, like 3 weeks old. So, or like a month old. And so I've been here for 6 years, and within that 6 years, the first 3 years were hell, like actual hell, until he left. There's just been a lot that has happened in this house. My time in this house is up. I know it's up. There's certain raggedy furniture in here. I'm not complaining by any means. There's just certain raggedy furniture though that was it's got to go. And my time here is up. And I hear stories about people just up and leaving all the time with no job, no nothing. And then God provides. I don't know what's about to happen. I really don't. But what I do know is that my time here is expired. It's up. I'm ready to get this raggedy furniture up out this house. I've been through a lot in this house. I just don't even want to look at this house anymore. I'm ready to go. And again, I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know what's in store for me, but I do know there's a reason for this, for God choosing this moment right now, this week, to sit and reflect and thank Him for everything, that we have been delivered from, and just situations that He's delivered us from, things that He has done for us, healing, all of the things, like just looking at where we were to where we are today. And today I am at a place where I'm still actively healing. Nobody's perfect. I still have things that I am working on. But one thing's for sure, I am definitely not in the place that I used to be in, mentally, emotionally. I have been able to separate myself from certain things that I didn't think I was going to be able to separate myself from, that I felt stuck to. Like, God has broken a lot of chains. He has done so many deliveries. Even recently, this is another testimony. I told y'all I was going through this like Job season, and God prophesied that the Job season was over. We're walking out of the Job season. No longer will the enemy be able to attack and afflict us in certain areas. And one of those areas for me was my health. My health was declining so quickly out of the blue. It almost seems like a blur today. But I was going to the hospital. Y'all didn't even know. Like, I had probably been to the hospital like 5 times in the last several months. Just something going on that I didn't know what it was. And, I was begging and pleading and crying to God, like, God, heal me. Like, I need answers. I don't know what's going on. And then He prophesied that about the Job season. And shortly after, here I am, healed in Jesus' name. And He really has just been so good to me, and I still don't know why. But I do know I have a purpose over my life. I have a huge calling over my life, you know, and I didn't even expect to have, I know I only have, which it's still quite a bit, like 1,000 followers on here on YouTube. I'm starting to slowly grow my YouTube now. Um, but he is sent y'all here for a reason, for a purpose, and I just want to steward that well and just do whatever it is that he needs me to do, help y'all, and um, you know, lead y'all in the way that he needs me to. When he told me I would be ministering, like I had an angel come to me in my dream like 2 years ago and tell me that I would be, she was ministering to me that I would be ministering. And I was like, what? Me? No. But yeah, here I am. I would not have imagined that I would be here doing what I'm doing now. But I know this is only just the beginning and it's much bigger than this. And I really just hope that I steward it well, and it really is a blessing to me to be a blessing to you guys and to help encourage you and keep you moving and keep you on the path, you know, that God is leading you down. And I am really thankful that he has blessed me with the gifts that he has blessed me with, the spiritual gifts, you know, the dreams and dream interpretation, just everything, because it does help people. And, you know, I'm thankful that he is sending people to me to help. I've just always had this desire to help people in some way. And so I'm grateful and thankful for that. I'm thankful that he trusts me, you know, with this. And yeah, that's just, this was a lot. I don't know why I'm posting it, but I am. Now y'all know a little bit about where I came from. It really is so much more than that. I briefly, lightly touched on it. But I am very thankful for where God has brought me and where I am at today. Where I am at today is so peaceful. And I'm very thankful for being in the position that I am in. Although I don't have a, you know, some things like a job and I'm ready to get out of this house. I know he's about to deliver me out of this some way, somehow, and things are about to start shifting. I'm very excited for what's to come, you know, and I'm just trusting and believing in that. So I appreciate each and every one of y'all, and I will see y'all probably, I don't know, maybe tomorrow. I think there's a word brewing. I might see y'all tomorrow, and if not, I will just see y'all in my next video, whenever that may be. Okay, bye.